Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Aurélie, Henry Schein's Orthodontics Category Manager. Tonight, Dr. Bruce McFarlane, an American board-certified orthodontist, will share his insights and experiences with clear aligner treatments and how to integrate Reveal into your practice. We encourage you to stay online directly after the presentation for a live Q&A. Any question you may have, please enter in the chat function to the left of your screen at any time during the presentation. And at the end of the presentation, your CPD certificate will be available to download straight from this platform. So without further ado, I will hand over to Dr. Bruce McFarlane.
Well, Aurélie, thank you very much. Good day, Australia. It's such a pleasure to be addressing you. I am coming to you from California right now, and it's 1 a.m., but I'm delighted to be up and with you for the next hour. Thank you very much for joining us. As Aurélie mentioned, I am indeed an American board certified orthodontist, and I've been working with clear aligners for a long, long time. And I'm pretty excited to share with you some news coming out of North America, and that is about a really neat alternative system that has come out from Henry Schein Orthodontics and is now being introduced into Australia. And here goes. We are going to reveal to you today why you should incorporate Reveal into your practice. I am indeed a clear aligner pioneer, and I also wanted to let you know, as a disclaimer, that I will indeed receive an honorarium for this lecture. Just to be clear about that. I bring you greetings from Carlsbad, California. I actually live part-time here. I'm a Canadian, but I spend a lot of time in California, and actually Carlsbad is the home of Henry Schein Orthodontics worldwide headquarters. So it's a pretty nice place right now. I won't tell you what the weather's been like lately because it's winter, and in Australia, I'm aware, and it's been kind of rainy. So sunshine ahead, I promise you. We'll send you some over from California. Congratulations as well to Australia and an excellent show so far at the Commonwealth Games in Birmingham, England. So way to go, Oz. That's so cool. Well done. So to orient you a little bit, I am right here in the world, and I believe most of you are down there today. And so it's just continues to amaze me what we can do technology-wise, and I'm really excited to be part of that. So during our time together over the next hour, we're going to look at, first of all, an incredible groundswell of consumer demand and opportunity for practice growth, and an introduction to some of the intricacies of orthodontics, tooth movement, and aligner therapy. Case selection, of course, which is very important for success, especially initially with clear aligners. And then we're going to move on to practical steps to getting going with the aligner process and developing successful referral relationships, patient communication and aligner marketing, and then finally how to get started tomorrow morning in your offices with Reveal aligners. So without further ado, we're going to get going here. There's been an incredible interest increase in clear aligner therapy around the world, actually. And we've got some really neat statistics to share with you. This is actually from Australia, and we've kind of really underwhelmed this market so far. And some of the numbers are that 26 million people in Australia have live in Australia and have teeth and have permanent teeth. And of them, 19 million identify of having some sort of malocclusion. So that's just such an incredible number of people. And I read one survey that if malocclusion were considered to be a disease by the Centers for Disease Control, for instance, it would be by far the most epidemic disease known to man. So incredible that there's so many people who have a malocclusion, and a lot of them are right before your eyes as well. And all you have to do is identify them. And we're going to share with you some really neat technology to help you address their malocclusions and to change their lives, literally. In Australia, on a given year, there are about 340,000 ortho cases underway, which is 2% of that entire population that has a malocclusion. And so you got to know there's a lot more. For general dentists, we see a lot of fairly straightforward cases, especially to start with. And we recommend that you start with really straightforward cases. And there's so many out there that have relapsed. So that's a huge market where adults have had orthodontics in the past. They didn't wear the retainer, like they always admit to, which is fine. Or they say their wisdom teeth came in and started to move their teeth around. We also will let them go with that. But of course, now we have some great technology and a wonderful system, and we can say to them, hey, we can fix that. And without the old-fashioned braces and all the other devices that go along with them. What do you say? And that starts the conversation for sure. Some of the growth drivers have included a real increase in the interest in clear aligner therapy, much more so than braces. The sort of interest in braces is pretty stagnant and has not really grown much in the past few years, but an incredible groundswell of awareness of clear aligners and a much more broad availability as well. And all of these things have led to a really neat market that has opened up for all of us to tackle, and not necessarily have to really get that difficult with our cases, especially at first, and really do a wonderful job for these folks in a most desirable way that a lot of people will come into my office and they'll say, like, don't even talk to me about braces. I don't want to hear about it at all. What else have you got? And of course, now you're going to see that Reveal aligners not only are a fantastic clear aligner option, they're actually a better option than a lot of the systems that are out there right now. So that's exciting for me to share that message with you today. Some of the other surveys we've looked at, 89% of people said a great smile significantly enhances a person's attractiveness and self-esteem. So that's cool, and absolutely believe that. First thing I look at, for sure. 48% said the smile is noticed first. More, of course, amongst us in the dental profession. I think we've definitely noticed people's smiles right off the bat, and almost sort of subconsciously create an impression in our minds about that person just based on their smile. So it's just such an important presentation to the world is through our smile. And 75% of adults claim that their professional and personal lives have been improved by orthodontic treatment. So that too is important. One of the interesting things that has happened over the last 2.5 years is all of these webinars and virtual meetings, and people have been looking at their teeth, bouncing back at them during a Zoom call. And we've had a lot of people come into my office and say, I had no idea, but I can't stand looking at my teeth anymore through my Zoom call. So can you help me out? And the answer is, of course we can. Of course we can. The other reason we know there's so much newfound interest is about 2 million consumer searches for aligners each month. So people, we watch sort of the keywords that are put into Google, and definitely people are looking for sure. And of course, Reveal has a wonderful presence on the web, and encourage you to go in and have a look. There are resources both for our patients and for ourselves as well. And you got to know that the team at Henry Schein is going to be really behind you, and part of your success will be from them. We encourage you to really look to them for lots of information and assistance as you go on your Reveal journey. Okay, and speaking of Reveal, it's very, very usual in my office these days that we will start a case like this, deep bite, bit of narrow arch, some crowding, trapped lower incisors, with Reveal and no attachments, which is going to be one of the really neat things that we're going to explore about the Reveal system. And in 4 months, we're all ready to hear. So that's no attachments and simply clear aligners. And we're going to share with you sort of our intervals and how we instruct our patients to wear these things. But you can also notice the incredible clarity and the lack of the 3D printing striations that we normally see on other aligner systems. And it's been really neat to have our patients see the difference. So overall, as mentioned, aligners are an absolute groundswell in the orthodontic area. The reasons are they are absolutely removable, so ease of care of your teeth. You don't have to change your diet. They come out to eat and brush and floss. They're very aesthetic, especially Reveal aligners. Quite comfortable as well. We are aware of how much per aligner teeth will move or can move, and we're careful to dial in only that amount on a given aligner. And so they're absolutely less force and less intense than like an adjustment of braces, for instance. Easy to clean, both the teeth and the aligners. We use them as clenching guards along the way and bruxism guards. And in fact, long term, we use Reveal's retainers for that as well. People get used to them at night and they really like it because it prevents their teeth from grinding at night and preventing tooth wear. Many, many fewer emergencies. I mentioned that I'm a Canadian and I live mostly in California, but I have 2 practices in Canada. So it's kind of neat that I'm able to be here in California and still run my practices. It has to do with the digital aspect of Reveal aligners. Great people on the ground in my 2 offices in Canada, and much, much fewer sort of maintenance things that go along with clear aligners. Basically, we've choreographed all of the movements in, and we show the patients how to wear them. And if they do, then it's pretty well assured that the aligners will express themselves beautifully. Much less root resorption we found with these systems, and it has to do with the low force levels and also the shorter time that these folks are wearing aligners. So slow, constant, gentle force means less damage to the periodontium and roots. But of course, they require a bit more compliance, and we're going to share with you some of our advice on how we guide our patients for that. As compared to braces, of course, we were constantly dealing with wire pokes and broken brackets, and obviously they're a lot more visible in the patient's mouth. There is indeed more root resorption with braces over clear aligners. We see a lot more sort of swelling of gums and irritation because they can't be removed, and they get in the way of patients' home care, and they're really hard to keep clean. And in certain cases where it gets away on the patient, there can be some cause of decalcification as well. See very little of that with the clear aligners, especially with fewer attachments as well. Pretty well the only thing that might contribute to decalcification in a clear aligner case is a whole bunch of aligners. And you're going to see that the Reveal system relies much, much less on attachments. And that's one of the big things that make them quite different from what's already out there in the marketplace. So let's have a quick look at sort of the leading brand versus Henry Schein's Reveal aligners. They're engineered in a way that provides increased clarity. And you can see it here. These aligners have all of the striations from the way that they're manufactured with 3D printing. And of course, all of the attachment wells really take away from their aesthetics as well, compared to Reveal aligners where they're crystal clear. And of course, less attachments means much more aesthetic presentation. The trim line gives us much better fit and much better control of the teeth. And we'll get into that a little bit more in a moment, but you can see the difference in the usual sort of traditional leading brand aligners. They scallop them just to the gingival margins, but Henry Schein's Reveal aligners are trimmed beyond. And we'll show you why that makes a difference. So we fit these devices very securely at the gingival margins to really grip the teeth without the need for attachments. And then, of course, there's really nice smooth edges as well that won't cause any irritation also. So the idea is we get in beyond where the gum meets the tooth and into those sort of undercut areas and really, really grip the teeth. And that's the key to success for moving teeth without a bunch of attachments. The other thing about Reveal clear aligners, we actually encourage our patients to wear them like 22 hours a day, and we really want them to wear them when they're drinking coffee and red wine. So it's kind of neat that we're able to prove to you that they're really good as far as stain resistance goes as well, with all of our favorite things that we encourage our patients to have their aligners in while they're consuming. We find that the plastic for these clear aligners in Reveal are much, much less prone to picking up that stain than the leading brand. So a bit of a look at the aligner manufacturing and why it's a bit different. Let's have a quick look.
Once the treatment setup is approved, the manufacturing process of the aligners begins. Other manufacturers produce 3D printed models for every stage and every aligner, a time-consuming process that, over time, creates hundreds of millions of plastic polymer models that end up in our landfills. The production process of Henry Schein's aligners is very different. We begin by creating just one precision mold of the patient's teeth. The teeth are then physically moved from their starting points to the doctor's prescribed positions. At each step of movement, aligners are being generated from the same precision mold. The proprietary Clearwear material is thermoformed to produce aligners using a process that captures even the most minute details of the patient's teeth and soft tissues. We then trim the aligners at their optimized heights to capture both the hard and the soft tissue anatomy for maximum grip. The entire process is designed for exceptional aligner fit and predictable tooth movements. Once the aligners are trimmed, they are hand-finished, providing silky smooth edges for maximum patient comfort. Each aligner is laser marked to identify it and then passes quality control. Then the aligners are put through a cleaning process before being packaged. You will receive a notification in DDX when the aligners have been shipped. An email notification will also be sent if that choice has been selected. The tracking number will always be available in DDX in the case information. The process of manufacturing and shipping the aligners takes between 10 and 15 business days from the moment the treatment setup has been approved.
So you can see it truly is different, and it allows us to create aligners that are crystal clear and really, really well fitting and a great grip on teeth. We encourage our patients to remove them only for meals and for brushing their teeth. So we sort of say 22 hours a day, hoping that we get at least about 18 as well. And with the extension of the aligners into that area of tooth undercut, we see much better grip on the teeth, and the patients really like this, and we've sort of proven that in our office by showing them sort of a leading brand aligner and then Reveal side by side, and we did this in New York's Times Square as well. So please have a look.
Hey, I'm Kyle Seelig. I'm a Broadway actor here in New York City, and today we're going to go into Times Square and ask people which aligner they would rather wear. We have these two options for clear aligner. Did you ever have braces?
Yeah, I did for a really long time.
Can I see? Wait,
yes,
you have them in right now?
I have them in my
Oh my gosh, okay. Looking at these two, which one would you pick?
First one.
Which one would you pick?
I don't know. This one looks a little clearer.
This one, number one, looks
Yeah.
clearer? Which one would you choose to wear?
Those ones.
This one, number one?
Well, that's very obvious. I think number one.
Number one.
I mean, number one, she'd be looking shiny.
It looks a little cloudy. I'll choose number one.
Let me show you what you picked. That's Reveal clear aligners over the leading brand. Everybody gets these, but you want those.
I want those now.
Has your dog ever had braces?
No, I think he needs them though.
Number one or number two, which one are you going to pick?
Definitely number one.
I feel like I don't want it to look musty and dirty and make my teeth look like they're like gross. Wow.
Reveal clear aligners.
Buy Invisalign.
Number one.
Well, I think I choose the clear one.
I would honestly pick the first one because it looks much cleaner.
Which one would you rather wear?
Yeah, definitely the first one.
Of course, the number one.
I'm wearing Invisalign.
You're wearing them right now?
Yeah.
Which one would you pick?
Number one.
Why?
That one looks more like plastic. That one's clearer.
Reveal clear aligners.
And now I'm really disappointed that I wasn't told about the other
Don't worry,
one.
I hear Reveal is working on time travel as well. Two choices. This one or this one?
Because it's more clear.
Because it's clear.
Clear.
Because it's clear.
I feel like the other one would be more visible on your teeth.
I'm literally supposed to be going to an orthodontist this Thursday for braces. See, I want to go for number one because it just looks clear.
You chose Reveal clear aligners as opposed to the leading brand.
Ah, Invisalign? Really? Wait, really? That's crazy. Wow. All right.
Just in time.
Okay, you might have just saved me my braces on Thursday.
Thank God you came to Times Square.
Thank God.
Have some actor ask you about your teeth.
It's perfect.
Okay, so pretty clear that Reveal aligners are clear, and they remain clear for a longer period of time than the leading brand as well. And of course, a lot fewer attachments as well. And we're seeing more and more, like it kind of is a pain point for me. And I talk to all the gurus from the leading brand, and if we're having trouble with a given movement, well, they just say, well, more attachments. And I'd much prefer that we use some different technology instead of more and more attachments, because they eventually will drive you crazy, as they have me. So we saw in that video with the manufacturing that we really don't lose the fidelity of the teeth throughout the aligner. So the aligner that fits a tooth at aligner number one will be the same at aligner number 21. That is not so with the leading brand. And this sort of idea of just trimming to the gingival margin allows that tooth to slip away. And of course, the material in the leading brand is quite flimsy compared to Clearwear, which is the Reveal plastic. It really is quite robust and impressively grips those teeth and simply won't let them go. So that is compelling. And part of the challenge is that these
are
teeth
like slippery pumpkin seeds. That's all.
Okay, so there you go. These teeth want to get away. And so if you just trim your aligner to the margin and not beyond, and if you use fairly flimsy plastic, then it's going to slip away. And of course, the way the direction that the teeth will go is to intrude. So we struggle with that, and we really want to go beyond that and into the undercuts of the teeth, and therefore not let them slip away like those slippery pumpkin seeds. So, typical case of crowding. I would look at this case in my previous life with the leading aligner manufacturer, and I would think, that's going to take probably about 18 months. And boy, it's going to take sort of 30 aligners to start, and then probably another 20 for the first case refinement, another 15 for the second case refinement. And probably going to take some expansion. I wouldn't consider extraction in a case like this, but probably some IPR as well, interproximal reduction. So what actually happened with this case? 22 upper and lower aligners, and in 12 months, we got to there. So no refinements and no attachments. So these sorts of things, when I first started looking at Reveal, were really quite compelling to me, and were a big part of the reason why I have chosen to switch the vast majority of my cases now to Reveal. And we get away with this just with expansion and some interproximal reduction. So exceptional fit is a key point to this, with the optimized trim of the aligners and, of course, the material itself, and engaging the teeth into that gingival margin and beyond really, really makes a difference, and simply won't let those slippery pumpkin seeds get away on us. So that's been a really neat difference for us with the trim, and therefore the better grip on these teeth. So very typically, we will see this sort of tracking. You can see the aligner is trimmed and includes not just to the margin of the teeth, but beyond and into the undercuts of the teeth. And that really gets away from those, from the slipping that often happens. And it's frustrating. We put our heart and souls into these cases, and then if we can't get the aligner to deliver all of that wisdom that we've placed into the plan, it's frustrating, and it causes loss of tracking, lots of case refinements, wasted plastic, and in the end, quite often a posterior open bite as well, because we're not getting the torque that we want. So the other thing that was mentioned in the video, they're very carefully trimmed, and we're seeing very few sort of irritations of our patients along the way. And the material itself, as mentioned, is a little bit more robust and made to grip and not let go of those teeth. So that we've got this great technology, and we've got a wonderful system. And now we want to start thinking about where are patients that would like to have this treatment. And the answer to that is they're out there, and there's lots of them. And sometimes all it takes is the beginning of a conversation about, hey, your lower incisors, they could be much better cleaned if your teeth were straighter, all those sorts of things. And sure enough, when we start thinking about malocclusion, we want to identify which ones are most amenable to clear aligners alone, and which ones are a little bit tougher as well. So we're familiar with the molar and canine relationships that we're going to run into, either class 1, class 2, or class 3. In the United States, there are luckily not that many class 3s. There are not that many true class 3s, about 1% of the population. Class 2, there are about 20%. Class 1 that have a malocclusion are 50 to 55%. So that's sort of our sweet spot that we really want to look to, especially at first on your Reveal journey, to be looking for class 1s that are that have some crowding or spacing, or a bit of a deep bite, or a bit of a narrow arch. Those are the wonderful cases to start with, and they're out there. There's lots of them, and a lot of them are in your practice at this very moment as well. About 25% of the population are actually normal, either because of orthodontic treatment or because they were born that way. But hang in there. Those two might have some late onset adult crowding for you later on. So we really, we talked about the demand and of course, what's driving it a ton these days is society's emphasis on aesthetics, and online influencers and everything else have contributed to that. So incredible demand, and let's look for some patients out there to give this a go.
Henry Schein's aligners can be used to treat a variety of misalignments and provide patients with the possibility of a very discreet and efficient treatment. However, there are limitations when treating a patient with aligners. It's essential that you get a comprehensive overview of each patient to assess whether aligners are an appropriate treatment option. Whether clear aligners are the right solution often depends on the complexity of each patient's misalignment. In order to evaluate whether a patient is a candidate for clear aligners, the doctor should perform initial extra and intraoral examinations looking for signs of the following issues. Crowding and spacing. Aligners alone can easily treat up to 3 millimeters of crowding or spacing per arch. Overjet. An overjet of up to 2 millimeters is straightforward to treat using aligners. Overbite. A patient with an overbite of up to 1 millimeters can be treated easily with aligners. Open bite. An open bite is usually difficult to treat with all clear aligners. Patients that have open bites of up to 0.5 millimeters per arch can be treated without attachments. You can communicate an estimated duration of treatment at this point, but the patient must be aware that the exact length can only be confirmed once the treatment plan is approved.
Okay, so we can see that some of those parameters suggest that, especially at first, that we really want you to be kind of cherry pickers in it. It's similar to anything else that you do in dentistry. If your first implant case is, requires a sinus lift and a bone graft, then chances are you're going to get bogged down. Similarly, if you choose a particularly difficult aligner case at first, you also will be bogged down and probably not, that excited about it. And so really be careful about it, especially at first. And just be aware that there's so many cases out there that really aren't that crazy difficult. And so, and a lot of them, as that sort of 50 to 55%, are actually in class 1. So you don't have to worry about antero-posterior change. And the aligners are just really, really great at class 1, all by themselves without extra devices. So there's things that affect the complexity of treatment, of course, how much crowding, and a lot of you that do a lot of orthodontics are aware it's not just the crowding itself, but also the inclination of the teeth. And if the teeth are retroclined and there's a fair bit of crowding, quite often it can be undone just through proclination. If their teeth are already proclined and also quite crowded, that's quite a different story. Treatment goals, do you want to eventually do some cosmetic dentistry or prosthetic dentistry? These aligners are fantastic for that sort of thing and will help you set up your cases and take them up from good to great. The complexity of the tooth movements are to be watched, as you saw from the little video. And then, of course, also your own treatment experience and your own comfort level at first. You might be a very experienced clear aligner practitioner or an absolute neophyte. So just be aware of that, and you can grow with the system, and you can be as sort of in the shallow or deeper end as you wish and as you feel comfortable. I would say a fifth one is be aware of the personality of the patient as well. We run into this a lot, where a person who's sort of going to try and drive the bus all the time and be very, very particular may not be the best case to start with, because they're going to be very demanding and kind of a pain in your backside for sure. So we watch out for these fabulous sort of mild to moderate crowding cases, mild to moderate spacing cases, a little bit of overjet as mentioned. So sort of 2 millimeters beyond the ideal overjet, absolutely great for clear aligners. Overbite, the depth of bite either we measure it, of course, in percentage, up to about 50%. Overbite in deep bite cases, absolutely fine. Midline deviation, up to a couple of millimeters, also quite amenable to treatment with clear aligners alone. And an open bite, I actually love clear aligners for open bites because of the sort of posterior bite plane effect of those devices. And we find we can really solve open bites quite nicely, even more readily than with braces. So we'll go a little bit further than a millimeter or so for sure. So here's kind of the easy and straightforward place to start with Reveal clear aligners. Then a little more difficult are the more moderate crowding and a bit more overjet and overbite. And then of course, when you start getting up into these sorts of numbers, we're starting to look at possibly using extra devices. And of course, Henry Schein is famous for carrier motion, which we use a lot with our Reveal clear aligners, and maybe an expander, that sort of thing, that if we go beyond the capabilities of aligners alone. So the possibilities are there. It just depends on where you are in your level of comfort with clear aligners. So the other thing about crowding has to do with not necessarily how much overall crowding there is, but if it's all in one place, then it's more difficult than if it were spread out over a number of teeth. So we watch for that too. Like we always say, up to about 3 millimeters of crowding, but if it's 3 millimeters with one tooth totally blocked out of the arch, that's a little more difficult. And it has to do with sequencing, where we get the aligners to move the teeth away from the most misaligned teeth first in order to allow us room to unravel them. So that takes a little bit more experience and a little more guidance for the techs. And I would encourage you to hold back on those cases, especially at first, if you're just getting started at this. Also with deep bites, of course, these devices are powerful for deep bites, but to a certain point, and you kind of, once again, have a look and make sure you're comfortable with taking on more and more severe cases. The other thing is it's going to take more aligners as well. So we have to think of the time that's involved as well. And also another thing that comes into into play is what your eventual treatment goals are for that patient. And I think that's a great place to start for general dentists who want to use clear aligners, and that is setting up their prosthetic and cosmetic cases, because you'll be the ones who actually finish these cases. So that's exciting for sure. So once again, we talk about, do you want to do a little, do you want to do a lot? And that means more time and more patient visits. And maybe, especially at first, you don't necessarily want to take on those really, really tough cases that are indeed possible, but not necessarily all that practical, and for sure not very profitable in your practice. So watch for that for sure. So try and avoid the extremes. Do try and pick cases that have all of their teeth, especially at first. We do mixed dentition with Reveal, but much sort of more predictable if all the teeth are there. And if the arches are fairly well matched, we try and avoid things that have severe crowding, open bites. If there's a long lower face, we call that dolichofacial. Those are often a sign of some trouble with tongue posture and quite often breathing issues as well. And we also avoid clear aligners as a first line against TMJ issues as well. So let's look at a few cases. This one, a male class 1 crowded deep bite. And a lot of these cases, we wanted to show you what can be accomplished without attachments and without a lot of case refinements and without a lot of interproximal reduction as well. So in this case, for instance, a 21-year-old female with, pretty severe crowding. This one isn't really all that sort of entry-level type case, because there's going to be a lot of expansion and you want to control how much proclination there's going to be. but it was indeed tackled with Reveal. 21 uppers and 24 lower aligners, no attachments, no IPR, and no revisions. Now, you might look at this case and go, okay, well, you know, I might want to fix the buccal segment on this side and improve the canine symmetry and maybe make the bite a little less deep. But that's pretty impressive for this system to be able to create that in that number of aligners without attachments, IPR, or refinements. Similarly, this one, a little bit of a midline shift, and in a 31-year-old male, we were able to take him to here with 15 upper and lower aligners, no attachments or revisions as well. A 24-year-old female, anterior crossbite. This too is a nice case for Reveal. The Reveal aligners act like their own little bite plane as you treat them. So you don't need to, you know, do things like separating the bite as you're treating them. 21 upper and 23 lower aligners, no attachments, no IPR, and no case revisions. So lots of neat cases out there, and we really encourage you to watch for them and start that conversation with your patients, sometimes just planting the seed at first, and then they'll come back and say, you know, I've thought about it, and let's do it, doc. Let's go ahead and I hear you can do this with really clear aligners and with many fewer bumps on my teeth and in a much shorter period of time. Let's go for it. So how do we submit cases? You saw in one of the videos they talked about the DDX, which is the Digital Dental Exchange, which is kind of neat and very easy to use. It works on, it's a web portal, so it's all cloud-based, and you don't need to load anything onto your computer. It works with most of your favorite web browsers, and it also works with Apple computers, for those of you that still love Apple computers. I know you're out there for sure. I'm a Google Chrome guy, and it works very, very well on Google Chrome. And all of your case records are always available to you on your DDX portal. And we also have a very easy submission process. We get our records together, and they include photos and x-rays, panoramic, and cephalometric if you're doing things that might change anteroposteriorly, and then digital scans or PVS impressions. And then all of that is compiled and in the case submission page. Then we wait for treatment setup and development, and during this time we'll get communications from Reveal, and then we'll be prompted to review and modify or approve that case. Once approved, it goes directly to manufacturing, and then of course to patient delivery. So all of this is really quite streamlined, and if sort of the one sort of limiting factor is if the doctor doesn't get on their prediction as soon as they hear that it's ready, that seems to really slow the case down. So I encourage you, once you've submitted these cases, to watch for those things and really make sure you jump on them as soon as you get the indication that there's a case ready for you. So about 6 weeks altogether, and that's getting better as well. It's getting shorter over time. Studio Pro 4.0 is the system that's used for setting up the cases and for showing you the predictions, and it's good. It really, truly is magnificent, and you'll see that it's sophisticated, and you can be as involved in the planning of the case or not, as you wish. So for me, I'm more of a sort of see what they provide for me and then communicate with them with words, but you can also go in with tools as well and do things like your own rotations, your own extrusions. You can place attachments or whatever you like along with the clear aligners as well. So we really encourage your team to be involved in this as well. There's lots of great cases out there, and you can see from this video the actual sort of process of going through and submitting these cases. That video is available online as well through the Reveal site. So we really encourage our gang to be involved with this, and we help our team identify these cases. And just going to stop that video. I encourage you to go in and have a look online on Reveal's website for that video on how to submit cases. So we have our team very involved in this, and they're the ones actually that start a lot of these conversations. And of course, we scan people, and that shows them a lot about their malocclusion that they may not know about. We put it up on the big screen. So we see these patients every day. We talk to them about how difficult the teeth are to brush properly, and teeth that don't fit together can wear, chip, break, too much load on certain teeth and not enough on others. And of course, really great for pre-restorative alignment, and gives us a much better foundation to take our cases from good to great. So lots of opportunities to engage our patients, talk to them about this, educate them, let them know about what's available, and of course, what happens if those situations are left untreated as well. So we talk, a lot in our practice about the effects of, say, lower crowding, the periodontal effects of that, and the difficulty in cleaning and that sort of thing. And so we ask our hygienists, of course, to be involved in this. They're the ones who spend the most time with our patients, and they have the most opportunity to communicate with them. So we will have them say, hey, I'm seeing that your lower front teeth are really quite crowded. You're struggling. We're getting a fair amount of tartar buildup down there. We would be in much, much better shape if we lined all those teeth up. And we've got this amazing system now where we can do so with very, very clear removable aligners that don't have a whole lot of attachments on your teeth. And you're going to love this. What do you say we have the doc come in and have a quick look and see if you might be a good case for Reveal aligners? And that's how it happens, for sure. So we definitely recommend Reveal for crowding that could potentially affect periodontal health, crowding that increases your risk for decay, and of course, straightening, rotating, or rotated uprighting teeth for aesthetics and for pre-cosmetic dentistry as well. And of course, we see especially in our deep bites, excessive tooth wear caused by poor occlusion. And we'll point that out to our patients. The scanners are really good for that as well. They'll make that quite obvious to the patient. And of course, if there is spacing, then we talk about things like food impaction, and as well, just the teeth not fitting together well because there's too much space in certain areas and not in others as well. So how about we have a little consultation, and we'll share with you all the hows. That's what folks want to know. How are you going to do it? How long it's going to take? How much it's going to cost? And those are the three questions that we answer for our patients with the Reveal system. So we talked about straighter teeth leading to much healthier gums and bone support, way easier cleanings, less buildup of tartar and calculus, and a lower risk of trauma and abnormal wear as well. So I hope that over the past 50 minutes, I have convinced you that Reveal is a pretty neat system, very clear, stain resistant, many fewer attachments, much better grip on the teeth, much fewer case refinements, much fewer overall aligners, much fewer wasted aligners than the leading brand. And we really, really think this is worth a go for you. Almost all of my Reveal cases I'm submitting these days at first without attachments or IPR. We run through the first round, and then we have the teeth tell us. So, other brands, they'll say, let's put on 16 attachments right away. It's kind of this shotgun approach and hope that that will overcome some of the limitations of that aligner system with all of these bumps on the teeth. For us, we prefer to be more educated about that and much more targeted. So we run through the first round, we'll watch for any sort of trouble spots, and then we plan to address them with revision aligners, and that is cool. Patients love it. Your team will love you even more as well, and that's pretty exciting. With the aligner intervals, they're pretty tight, especially at first. We start with 2-week intervals, especially in an adult. We want to wake up the system and get the teeth limbered up at first. We see them at about 8 to 12 weeks, and then we'll reevaluate. If they're tracking well, we say, hey, Aurelie, you're awesome. Let's actually, your teeth are moving beautifully. Your aligners are tracking beautifully. Let's go to 1 week. And I'd much rather say that than be at 1 week and then say, Aurelie, things are not going great here. We're going to have to go to 2 weeks. So start long, and then you can reward your fabulous people with 1 week intervals. If you're not seeing it, or if the patient's kind of admitting to being a little bit spotty with their wear, we'll stay at 2 week intervals. And of course, the Reveal Clear aligners will stay nice and clear for a full 2 weeks, as opposed to some of the other aligners that are out there that won't. They'll look pretty gross, even after 1 week. The reasons for the teeth not moving well could be compliance or a biologic response, so it's not always compliance. If it's not happening, we have a pep talk with them. We give them chewies, we give them munchies, and closer monitoring. So, and possibly some extra IPR. So let's review, finally, the most important Reveal differences. The fit is incredible, and it's into the interdental areas where the grip is so much better. The trim gives us much better grip on the teeth and better interproximal representation. The material itself is great. It's transparent and it resists staining, and much, much less reliant on attachments. With that better grip, there's less slippage of those slippery pumpkin seeds, much better expression of our hard-fought plan, much fewer refinements, shorter treatment times, of course, if you're not always refining them. And of course, that's going to lead to my favorite word, which is profitability, for sure. So imagine this. You're seeing the aligners, even at number 4, tracking like this, at aligner 10, tracking like that. I just love this. Without attachments, great grip on the teeth, very, very intimate to those teeth. And let's imagine that in your world, and what a difference you can make for. So I invite you to engage with your in Australia and get out there and move some teeth and make me proud. Thank you very much, Australia.
Thank you, Dr. McFarlane. It was a very informative presentation. I can see that we have some question already. So if you're happy, we can get straight into the question. We have our first question, and it says, if there is a weak tooth and I do not have too much pressure around the gum margin, can I request to avoid any pressure on it?
Okay, that's a great question. I think the question is asking perhaps if there's some periodontal compromise or loss of attachment on that tooth. And the answer is absolutely. Your question's good because, we talked about how into the undercuts and beyond and into onto the gingival margins these aligners go. So in a case where you're aware that there is loss of attachment and the tooth is maybe a little bit periodontally compromised, then the answer is yes. We ask for relief, basically, of that grip on that particular tooth, and you can do that in the special instructions.
Thank you. Let's move on to the next question. Can spacing be an option for treatment with Reveal?
I missed the I'm sorry.
Can spacing be an option for treatment with Reveal?
Sorry, that I missed something in the translation from Australian. So spacing, absolutely. Sorry, you can imagine a big part of moving teeth with clear aligners is our ability to wrap the teeth with plastic. So a spaced tooth actually is very amenable to movement with Reveal clear aligners, and especially given the grip that they have on those teeth, we can get some really nice space closure, diastema closure. And if you've got like a really large amount of space, I would have you think about questions like, are the teeth really small, or is there something else going on? Maybe a strong labial frenum, that sort of thing. But the answer is absolutely, it's powerful for spacing.
Thank you very much. Next question is, how many and what X-ray is required for case submission?
Okay, so, there's a bit of controversy about that because especially general dentists often don't have a cephalometric machine. So I would say to you, at least have a panoramic X-ray. And if you don't have a panoramic, they will accept a full mouth series of X-rays. As you get more and more into using Reveal and getting into more and more difficult cases, I would suggest to you that you should actually include a cephalometric X-ray, because we look at things like, lower incisor inclination and that sort of thing. And we want to see how we've changed as well. So we do before and after cephalometrics. So the answer is, at first, at least a full mouth series of X-rays or a panoramic, and most ideally a panoramic and a cephalometric X-ray.
That was a very good question. And another really good question, what is an attachment?
So the attachments are composite resin pieces that we put onto the teeth to help us with certain movements. So for instance, it's difficult for an aligner to go up, grab a tooth, and actually bring it down. So what we do is we place a composite bump, basically, on the teeth, and it has an inclined plane on it. The aligner goes up, grabs that attachment, and brings the tooth down. So if and when you need attachments, you will get an attachment template from Reveal, and it'll be very clear on where the attachment goes. And you put the resin inside the attachment template, place it on, light cure it through the attachment template, and then that piece stays on the tooth and helps you with certain movements.
Thank you. Next question is, what is the protocol for retention after completion?
Okay, another great question. We really want to hold what we've created. A lot of these people will know what relapse is because they've had orthodontics before. So we use Reveal clear aligners, retainers. They come with, included in your series of aligners. And our protocol is we have them worn also for 2 weeks full time. Then we just go to night times after that. And then we have our patients long-term watch and put them in every second or third night. If they're really tight, we have them wear them more often. If they're not, then they know they're golden. And we explain to the patient, hey, people's teeth drift even if they haven't had orthodontics. So that's why we're so careful about it. Here's the tool. Go ahead and use it every few nights. A lot of people like to wear them every night anyway because it prevents them from grinding and clenching as well. And that's how we maintain them long term.
Thank you. Very important to retain these teeth in the right position. Otherwise, you go back and see Dr. Bruce McFarlane again.
Right on.
So we've got a few questions. We've got a few questions about pricing of the treatment. I will encourage you to click on the link on the right side of your screen. It says request a demo, but you can also request a contact, and then a Reveal specialist will contact you to arrange a time or can send you some more information about pricing. There is also a question about Dr. Bruce. Can you run through the rough estimate of treatment, please? So I guess it's more about what type of cost do you need to include when you're charging your patient?
Right. Okay. So in general, our fee is probably, our margin with braces is usually about like 10 times what the braces cost us. The margins with clear aligners are not that, but there's so much less sort of labor involved with clear aligners and so many fewer materials as well. So, say you buy the Reveal aligners from Henry Schein for X, it's probably about X times 4. That is a pretty good margin for you. And, once you get these patients going, they're pretty well, on their own. We're seeing them every 8 to 12 weeks. Provided they're wearing them, the system is really delivering for us, and our cases are finishing quickly and efficiently. So it really is quite profitable.
And maybe, Doctor, if you can give us an indication of, what are the services that you should include when you basically look at looking at your pricing for your patients, like looking at your chair time, looking at what is going to cost for your practice and that you should take into account. Do you have any tips?
Thing. Yeah, of course, Aurélie. So my accountant has done this for me, and he's really annoying because he's let me know that every time someone sits in my chair, it costs me $110. So that's heat, light, water, rent, staff, sterilization, all that. $110 every time a butt sits in my chair. So that's that. So we really want to spread out these patients and not see them quite as often. And we do a lot of sort of remote monitoring, meaning that we keep in touch with them even when they're not in our office. There's a little bit of cost for the attachments if needed. The resin may be about $12 or so that is necessary for these little attachments. Beyond that, gosh, really, really low overhead on these cases once you've got the clear aligners. And if it's a comprehensive case, then we get pretty well all the aligners we need for the cost of that we initially pay to HSO, including the retainers. So honestly, it's an easy calculation for us to, and our margins are generally about 60% with clear aligner, with the Reveal clear aligner system.
And I guess as well, with the Reveal system, there's no hidden fees. There's no extra fee outside of the treatment that you are going to pay. Next
Yes.
question: do we recommend fixed retainer after treatment?
Okay, in certain cases I do. Cases that have been periodontally compromised or just, really, really tough cases that I just know the teeth are going to want to move or the patient has requested it. My concern about fixed retainers are they're hard to clean around and they're more susceptible to things like caries. And if one of the little attachments that you've used fails, then I feel like you're going to be responsible to fix that at no cost. Whereas if they've worn removable retainers and they haven't worn them well, it's on them that the relapse has occurred. So generally a removable retainer guy, but in certain cases, yes, to fixed retainers.
Thank you, Doctor. We've got a question about whitening. Can whitening be done in treatment with aligners, and when is it suggested to do so?
Okay, that's a great question, actually. And the Reveal aligners are quite nice as tooth whitening trays. Very, very little tooth whitener, though, inside them because, as you saw, they're so intimate to the teeth. So yes, we use them. If there's a bunch of attachments, which is unusual with Reveal, we try and wait till retainers and then do it, because there is a concern about where the attachments are will whiten differently than where they're not. But in general, we use tooth whitening all the way along. We usually use it for 1 hour just after supper when they put them back in, and then they rinse it out. So in the tiniest little amount, but straighter, whiter, brighter all at once. That's pretty cool.
Thank you. Great question, because all these patients that are in the market to straighten the teeth always want to improve the the color of the teeth as well.
Agreed.
Now, another question for you, Dr. Bruce, and I guess every dentist out there might be different, but do you charge by stage or whole course of treatment? And
another great
is it different for different patients?
Right on. Very good question. And, after you've done a few of these cases, you'll kind of get a feel for how many aligners it's going to be. But generally, we have only about 3 fee levels, and they have to do with either it's going to be like a comprehensive case. You'll find out that Reveal has a light system and an express system as well for sort of decreasing complexity of these cases. The vast majority of my cases are comprehensive, and generally we count on about, in total, 12 to 18 months for our cases. So that's how we base our fees. We basically have like 3 fee levels based on how complicated the case is going to be. And if you don't really know up front, you can ask for help from your territory manager as well, as far as, it's so geographically specific as well. Like for your neighborhood, might be considerably different than from mine, as far as where your fees are going to land.
Thank you, Doctor. I think everyone is making the most of your experience tonight.
Of course.
We've got one more question. Could you explain 8 to 12-week follow-up versus 2 to 1 week review, please?
Okay, fair question. We find that we don't have to watch our patients that closely. And the reason is we have such great confidence in the Reveal system and all of the choreography that we put into these aligners. So all of the hard work is done by the time we deliver the aligners. And assuming the patient's wearing them, especially with Reveal, we're going to get what we've dialed into those aligners. So we don't necessarily have to babysit our patients quite as much. But it's very patient specific as well. Some people, we are absolutely comfortable with them getting out to 12 weeks and not, therefore, very little inconvenience to their life. They don't have to come in and see us. We show them how to evaluate how well the aligners are tracking. And if that's the case, then absolutely keep going. If there's trouble, then we'll shorten things up. We'll see them a little more often and say to them, hey, better come back in 6 weeks or like 3 aligners from now, because that one tooth just looks a little bit troublesome. Let's allow me to keep a closer eye on that. Better see you a little bit more often. So it's case specific and patient specific, but generally, if we've got great stuff dialed into these aligners and the patient's wearing them, it's kind of a no-brainer that they're going to deliver, especially with Reveal, and much, much more so than in my previous life.
Thank you. We've got a question about chewies. So the question is, does one need to prescribe chewies as well? Thank you.
Hey, Raji, how are you? A quick hello to Raji Nauru, my very, very good friend from Australia. We're big Chewies fans. So these, for those who don't know, are these cylinders of spongy rubber. And you can, wherever there's sort of a little daylight between an aligner and a tooth, you place the Chewy against the aligner and have the patient bite quite tightly on that area, and that will force the aligner up. And you saw how the Reveal aligners are trimmed. It causes them to go back up into the undercut areas and grip that tooth again. So if you're starting to lose it a little bit, we give pretty well all of our patients Chewies, and that helps to keep them beautifully tracking for us along the way.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much, Dr. Bruce McFarlane. It's been a pleasure. If anyone has any more questions, we might hold for a minute or two. Regina will say thank you, Dr. B. So if you have watched this webinar and you would like to see a Reveal or a Reveal aligners, please click on the link on the right side of your screen. It says request a demo, and a Reveal specialist will contact you to arrange a time that suits your practice. We do have one more question. It's been very interactive tonight.
That's great. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, lots of interest. This is great, guys. How do you actually take how to evaluate, and do you dispense a few aligner at a time?
Okay, so I think the question is, how do you teach your patients how to evaluate? It's pretty simple. We basically talk about, in the patient's words, if there's space, like some sort of daylight between the aligner and the tooth, it's not tracking. So don't keep going. Like, just don't keep going from aligner 1, 2, 3, or 4 until that is all the way up. And if you're having trouble getting it up, then use the Chewies or a little bit more time with that particular aligner. We also have our patients send photos of their like a mouth selfie, basically. And we'll be able to see what's happening with that aligner and why it isn't tracking. Sometimes there's just not enough space. And even if you haven't had IPR, interproximal reduction, prescribed for that case, we'll actually do a little bit on either side of a tooth that isn't tracking. And sure enough, you'll find that it's tight. It's bound to its neighbors. So you'll want to see that patient a little more often. If they let you know there's daylight. Upper lateral incisors are notorious for this. And if they just can't get them to track, have them come back. Don't let them go to the next round. Check with your IPR and make sure there's enough room for that tooth to move.
Thank you.
We've
got another question about the Chewies. How long do patients need to bite on them?
Okay. All right. So I think you can get them from Henry Schein in Australia. Yes. Orally, they are Chewies. You can get them from you guys, or
yes, our Reveal specialist will let you know how to get them.
Perfect. Okay. But the answer is how long? We have our patients bite on them for 15 seconds, 3 times a day. So on that tooth that just isn't tracking, or there's a bit of daylight, they bite on them 15 seconds, 3 times a day.
Thank you, everyone. If there's any more question, we will make sure that we'll get back to you. And on behalf of Henry Schein, I'd like to wish everyone a great evening. Thank you, Dr. McFarlane, and thank you for joining us tonight.
All right. Thank you, Aurélie, and good night from California.